Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of TEDXcellence, the show that I do occasionally. And I come to you live from my Corona bunker on the moon with Dogcat Fox, a Pepperjack, and all of you. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Thursday. Titanic Thursday. I don't know. The first word that came to mind. Oh boy. Workday, guys. But here I am. Workday is mostly over. It will continue briefly after I'm done here, but hey, this is a vacation of a kind. A vacation for my brain. What does that tell you about me? But let's not talk about me. Let's talk about all of you who've decided to join me today for this adventure into education. Tetramis, hello. Zach Osborne, hello. Mr. Joestar, hello. The Luke Skywalker 2, hello. Asian Hippie, hello. Red Chaos Tree, hello. Black Belt for Christ, hello. Quinn the Cultist, hello. Sumundal Nation, hello. John Miller, hello. Dark Alile, hello. Chicago Mike, hello. Then we jump down because we got to jump down. And then we jump down to the thing and the stuff. Scientrology, hello. That one Servant of Satania, hello. Keeverdam, hello. Check Your Logic, hello. Tall Person, thank you so much. Hoy all, can't watch live, but we'll watch in full later. Happy National Fresh Spinach Day, everybody. Ooh, that's Popeye's favorite day. Spiral Girl, hello. Gayest person on YouTube, thank you so much. One, please. One it shall be. Drew W, thank you. Wow, my brain took a rewiring there for a second. Drew W, hello. Hearst Gravegear, hello. Faithless, hello. Shady Grin, hello. Decode, hello. Elish Norn, hello. Zauble, hello. Pink Hollow the Driving Ape Man, thank you so much. With the, I don't know, is that a questioning smiley face? Yeah, I'm questioning too. I'm questioning my own sanity from time to time. Cal Cannell, hello. Crimson Tiger, hello. Sassy Shelley, hello. Johnny Hellcat, hello. Twisted Skipster, hello. You're Ridiculous Lunatic, hello. Duck Dog, hello, and thank you so much. Half-truths and whole lies. Well, we'll have to find out. Because I don't know. As with all of these, I haven't watched it, save for, checking that the audio quality was tolerable and all that kind of thing. BG, hello, and I salute you, Scribe. Well, all right. I'm not in the military, but I appreciate it. And at the top of the chat, Luke Skywalker 2 asks, Scribe, when is it 2:30 and when is it 3 as far as when the show will launch East Coast time? Is there some sort of pattern? Are there certain days of the week when you do TEDXcellence, or was it when you are available and feel like it? It's that latter, when I'm available and feel like it. If I have the time to schedule such for in between work requirements of me, I will do it around 11:30. If I'm kind of done with work for the day, I can do it around noon. It all depends on the circumstances of the day. And as far as like what days I will do it, generally speaking, and again, I have to put it generally speaking, it will be on those days where I am not hosting Lords of the Night. However, I may just choose not to do one on one of those days. Now, that's not set in stone. I've done TEDXcellences on days where I have hosted Lords of the Night. It's a loose schedule because these are reflexive after a fashion. I don't have a regular pattern for it. The one thing I schedule myself for certain is Lords of the Night. Elsewise, as I feel like it. But I try to stay somewhat consistent. You can find me, if I'm going to do one, it's going to be either 11:30 or noon, unless otherwise stated. But you have to watch my Twitter for any other notifications elsewise. I use that word a lot, elsewise. It's not a commonly used word. Otherwise is usually what people say. But for whatever reason, I picked that up, and it's one of those almost nervous tics now, I guess. At least I caught myself doing it. Anyway, that all being said, let's see. Thank you, Johnny Hellcat. I'll start my eye roll exercises now. Maybe so. So this one comes from a different tangent of the TED platform called TED Ed, as in TED Educator or TED Education. And they have a separate YouTube channel that they archive these on. And I came across it a while back, and I kept an eye on it here and there. And I checked on it recently. And I haven't looked at it in a long time. And I saw the title of this one, and I thought, why not? I haven't done one on education in a while, and this is relatively recent. So let us find out. Sar Jim, hello. Maladjusted One, hello. Sarty, hello. His Kitten, hello. M. M. Hello. You ever see the movie M? The old, oh God, what was his name? Peter Lorre. I think it was Peter Lorre, German film, M. It's a creepy little movie. But I'm going off on a tangent. Let's not do any more tangents, shall we? Renovescio, hello. All right, so guys, also, I should have mentioned, I have revised the bingo card. Link is in the description. I have changed up some of the squares and definitely moved a bunch around. So let me at least tell you of the revised squares. I have removed one. I think it was equity. No, it wasn't equity. It was, I forget which one I removed. But either way, I removed one and I replaced it with self-vilification/wretchedness. So what I'm thinking here is this is when the speaker makes themselves directly a villain of some kind. Like the speech is about some kind of redemptive act, some kind of revelation of pureness they're now at, whereas before they were part of the problem, etc. It does, on reflection, come a little close to the square right next to it. Takes credit/blame for something done/experienced by others in their demographic. This is where someone is going to include themselves in either the accomplishments or the suffering of others in some way, effectively. Now, maybe I should take out the blame part because that kind of goes into the self-wretchedness thing. But one is more general, the other one is personal. I guess that's how I'd distinguish them for now until I revise it again. I added unconscious bias to the microaggressions one because they are usually mentioned in the same breath. And I figured they're such, they're essentially kissing cousins of the same concept. So I just left that there as that. Elsewise. Boy, that is my word today. Today's secret word is elsewise. I think that's everything that I changed as far as the text. Every other square is one that was existing before, save for the one I replaced with self-vilification and wretchedness. And so keep your ears attuned, and we'll see what we come up with as we proceed. But all that being said, I'm going to start off with a few seconds to test the sound. You guys tell me if you can hear it, and then we will proceed. And here we go.
So I first met Kevin on my very first day of student teaching.
Okay, she first met Kevin on her first day of student teaching. You guys get all that? Let's see. BG, and let's watch Scribe Light's blood pressure goes through the roof as he is reminded that this person is in charge of educating our children. I don't know. I mean, it could be a positive story. Like I say, I don't know what the content is before I go into these things. Is it just the title catches me or the subject matter seems interesting or there's a twist to it or an implied twist? So this could be a completely uplifting and inspirational speech for all I know. Oh. Sounds good, says Ham and Beans. And hello, Ham and Beans. Faithless, who is Kevin? Well, I don't know. Hopefully, we'll find out together.
It was during first period. He had his head down. So I walked over and I tapped him gently on the shoulder and I asked him to lift his head, and he did.
And he said, "You just physically assaulted me. How dare you touch me? Did I give you permission or consent to touch my shoulder?" Oh, sorry, I'm thinking of a completely different situation.
He also delivered me a pretty intentional message. He told me to never effing touch him again.
Oh! Ooh! Ooh! I was right. Go, Kevin. Assert your space. Damn. All right. Well, that's an introduction to your own student. Boy, oh boy. I am dying to know where this goes now. This is great.
I was 20.
Like that's an excuse or something?
Finishing up spring semester as an English education major.
English education major. Oh no. She's tangentially within my academic purview, sort of, kind of. Oh dear.
And Kevin was 18.
So you were 2 years older than him. Okay. All right. Got it.
A high school freshman.
Yes, I got it.
Several weeks.
Wait. A high school freshman? At 18? Huh. Maybe my memories of age groups within grades is a bit off. Is that off to me or to you? Maybe I missed something.
Into the student teaching process, not much had changed between the two of us.
Why should it? You're a teaching assistant, right? I don't know. I don't know how teaching works. I'm just a student, or was, but okay.
He was certainly disengaged. I registered his joylessness, but
you registered his joylessness. Wow. It sounds like this kid has, or I should say had, since we're talking in the past tense here, had problems and had problems prior to you meeting him. If he's a freshman in high school at 18. Again, I don't know this person's story. Maybe she'll tell us, but that just seems a bit old to be a freshman in high school. Thank you, Drew W. She fell in love instantly, or was he too old? Oh boy, I don't know. Given how this story of, I assume, friendship or teacher-student or something else began, I'm dying to know where it goes. But okay, you registered his joylessness, so he hated school, effectively. Okay.
It was really sort of in great contrast to what I was seeing in the rest of my students. They were thriving, they were kicking butt, and I was loving being a young teacher. It was an incredible adventure.
So Kevin was for lack of a better phrase, a problem student, or he had issues or something. Okay, so tell us more about Kevin.
So it was really easy for me to consider the barrier between Kevin and me and sort of blame Kevin for it.
Well, I mean, if he's 18 and a freshman in high school, he's a grown adult. Conceivably. I mean, I don't know what other issues the guy had, but his decision to act the way he was acting at the age of 18, it's kind of his fault in that sense. He's responsible for him. I mean, unless you are a student counselor of some kind, it's not technically your responsibility to make friends with him, or at worst have a cordial relationship. And maybe he has issues you can't solve. I don't know. Maybe we'll find out. Thank you again, Johnny Hellcat. He was probably in a freshman class. I had to make up a science course when I was a senior due to a clerical error. Like I say, I don't know. It just sounds a bit off to me. And without her telling me otherwise, I don't know the circumstances. But a high school freshman at 18 seems young. I'm just say young. It seems old. Maybe I'm off. Maybe he was born on a cutoff year or something. I don't know.
After all, he was the one who had embarrassed me. He was the one who was isolating himself from the rest of us.
Because he didn't like to be touched? He'd embarrassed you. Sort of like offense. Embarrassment is self-generated. It is rarely ever given. I mean, someone can attempt to embarrass you, but ultimately you're responsible for your own feelings. Just saying.
One day, however, class was leaving and I was standing out in the hall and having walked by, and on a whim, I said, "Hey, listen, what are you doing after you graduate? What do you think you're going to do when you get out of high school?" And again, with great intention, he delivered a message, and it was a truth I had never considered before.
Ooh, a truth he had never considered before. Or sorry, she had never considered before. Okay, so this person who you got off on the wrong foot with, maybe was oversensitive and being a grouch, for lack of a better phrase. And of course, Kevin is responsible for his own participation in education at that point as well. So I'm not abdicating or abrogating his responsibility in his own education. So it's kind of a push-pull sort of situation. But okay, you asked him what you're going to do after graduation, and he gave you a truth you'd never considered before. Thank you, Drew W. Typical freshman or 14 turning 15. I mean, again, I guess it depends on how things are structured in a particular district or something. I don't know. I don't want to dwell on that too much. I'm just curious if she ever gives any information on why that might be, because it just sounds a bit off to me.
He said, I'm going to go to jail.
Like that's a plan? You know what? Okay, free space, circling that one. School to prison pipeline. If not literally, at least figuratively, our anecdote is going there. And as far as like anecdote that probably never happened, no, so far, so I believe this so far. Until she says something completely ridiculous, I'm believing this so far. Oh, I got to click the button.
And that's where I'll learn to cut hair. So when I get out, I'm going to work in my uncle's barbershop.
Wow. That is one interesting life plan. You're going to go to prison for some reason in order to learn to cut hair. So when you get out of prison, you can cut hair in your uncle's barbershop. Why not just go to a beauty school or a haircut school or a barber school or something? Why? Is it cheaper to go to prison? I suppose technically it would be. Maybe not in the long run, though. Okay, his plan is to go to prison to learn to cut hair. Okay.
And I stood there as Kevin walked away from me in these, that high school fluorescent light, that hallway.
Oh, come on. That high school fluorescent light. Oh, I'm getting so broken up.
And I felt I had no words. I certainly didn't know if there was an appropriate follow-up action. No pre-service preparation had gotten me ready for that exchange.
Yeah, because it sounds like the most self-defeating, depressing, I don't know, maybe even sarcastic or dismissive statement of oneself or one's future you could possibly look for in a kid, even an 18-year-old, quote-unquote kid. But yeah, I don't know how I'd respond to that either. I'd probably try to say something more encouraging, like, why do you think you have to go to prison to learn to cut hair? How about just go to a trade school? That'd probably be, like I said, like my first response or my first reaction. That'd probably be my response in real life. I'd be bewildered, offer an alternative. And then if I was in a position of authority like that, like a teacher or had connections or could do something about it, maybe I would try to find a way to help this kid get into a trade school so he didn't have to choose prison. Of course, I'd be curious to know by what mechanism he intends to send himself to prison. But okay.
And so I remember having this sort of initial and immediate innate response that no person, and certainly no student of mine, ever deserved to visualize a future with prison as a part of it.
I guess. I mean, presumably you hope that anyone that young isn't thinking that prison is their future. So sure, I could see someone in a teaching position hearing that from a student, feeling that way, that is no way for a young person to see their life or their future. I will agree with that.
And then after thinking about it, I started to wonder if maybe the barrier between Kevin and me had way less to do with Kevin and way more to do with systems and schools and educators and me.
Okay, well, brand new square. I'm getting ready to circle self-vilification, but she did say systems, so systemic is being circled. Yeah, you know what? Self-vilification. She herself is part of the problem that makes Kevin do that kind of thing. I might also then circle, well, okay, I'm going to correct that blame thing on that second square there. Takes credit or includes oneself in victimization of another of their own demographic. Yeah, we'll see. Anyway, so far I have circled self-vilification, wretchedness, school to prison pipeline, free space, systemic / institutional. Speaker should not be in current occupation or position. I will assess at the end of this.
So over the next 2 months, I had 2 months left, right, in this experience to foster a relationship with this young person who, based on age, right, he's a peer. I'm 20 and he's 18. And I decided to make this connection and foster an authentic relationship. But I need you to understand that this really wasn't some sort of like teacher strategy. It wasn't an act of selflessness.
Authentic relationship. I had to construct an authentic. Did she say construct or establish? An authentic relationship. What is an authentic relationship? I mean, I could have a relationship, quote unquote, with the barista I see regularly at Starbucks. It's not a deep relationship. It's not a romantic relationship, but it's a relationship. They work at the Starbucks nearest to me. It's as authentic as any other quote unquote relationship. What is an authentic relationship? I mean, I suppose one not based on lies, but anyway, sorry, I'm something of a wordsmith. It's that English major in me. Or no, the English major that I am. There's no English major in me right now. No. Backing up a bit.
But I need you to understand that this really wasn't some sort of like teacher strategy. It wasn't an act of selflessness. It came from curiosity. I needed to understand how two people, almost the same exact age, could exist on such oppositional paths.
I got news for you. It's called personal choices and personal circumstances. There was a guy I went to high school with. I mean, since we're talking about high school here, and we both came from similar backgrounds effectively. I mean, obviously not the same, but you know, same age. I think he was all of like 2 weeks apart in birthday or something. And, you know, had a good family. Never had anything untoward occur to this guy or anything. It just, like I say, for all intents and purposes, we lived effectively parallel lives to a certain extent. Now, what happened after high school? Well, I went on to go to a community college and then college. As far as I know, he went to community college. And then at some point, he decided to become a drug dealer. And then the right-hand man to a quote-unquote drug lord. Not really a drug lord, just somebody who was a bigger drug dealer than he was. And through a convoluted chain of events that involved his making decisions for himself that were very poor, he's now in prison for attempted murder. Probably for the next 20 years or something. You make different choices, right? I mean, I can look at my sister. She and I grew up in the same household, had the same rearing by our parents and so on. We have lived completely different lives. It's just, even under the same circumstances of upbringing, you can have people live completely different lives and turn out completely differently. Is that really such a revelation to our speaker? Or maybe she was an only child and doesn't know the difference. Thank you, Johnny Hellcat. Calling it now. She's going to play the hero. Maybe. Renovation says, Scribelight, is his name Kevin? No, his name was not Kevin, the guy I went to high school with. It's true. Not Kevin.
Paths that would have never intersected if I hadn't chosen to become a teacher.
That is not unique. The happenstance and serendipity of life applies to everyone. You're making yourself and your situation far more special and divine than it really is.
If I hadn't been placed in that particular school, if I hadn't been lucky enough to get Kevin as a student.
If I.
And as I look back now, I am so thankful because it is the experiences and stories that Kevin shared with me that taught me that race too often dictates the experiences that young people have in our schools.
Okay, so if I'm not mistaken, this is the first time she's brought up race. Okay, I wasn't envisioning Kevin anything other than just, I don't know, I don't think I was envisioning Kevin. It was just a name and a set of behaviors. But okay, tell us about Kevin's race and how all the other kids in your class were kicking ass But Kevin, the individual named Kevin, was behaving differently. Tell me more.
So
you see this lady in the front? You see my mouse is circling here? Okay, I'm going to back up a couple seconds. Watch the blonde lady in the front here. Watch her just for a second. Let me back up a little bit.
Race too often dictates the experiences that young people have in our schools.
Mm-hmm.
So my first step toward my journey in awareness was to recognize that personal truths don't align.
Personal truths don't align. Is that what makes them, I don't know, personal rather than, say, universal or common? You are an English educator, correct? You have some grasp of vocabulary and definition, or at least context clues, maybe?
Student experiences do not parallel mine. And if I didn't recognize that in a tremendous and fundamental way as a young teacher, and if I don't revisit that now as a veteran teacher, then not only will I struggle in the classroom, but my students will falter. And let's be really clear about one thing here.
Let's be really clear about one thing here. She is the center of the universe. If I do badly, my students will falter. Well, in a certain sense, yes. If you're a bad teacher, your students will not learn. That is true. That is true. Let's see. What is she about to say? Let me put on my Karnak hat for a second. I'm going to back up just a second here so we have context again. She says, let me be clear here. Maybe she's going to admit something to the effect of, let me be clear here, I don't think I am the end-all be-all to these students' lives. I mean, that would at least be honest. I would at least give her that she's not completely narcissistic and self-centered. Even though so far everything sounds contrary to that notion. But maybe it's an admission of self-reflection. I don't know. Let's see.
Students will falter. And let's be really clear about one thing here. I'm not talking about falter in the search for grades or standards or assessments. I'm talking about the struggle as we search for climate.
As we search for climate. So let me back up here. In our initiating example, you had a classroom full of students. All of them were doing well and quote unquote kicking butt, as you say, all save for one, and that's Kevin. And up until about 15, 20 seconds ago, nothing about Kevin separated him from any of the other students, save for his attitude and his apparent outlook on his future. Now you've brought up race for some reason, effectively dismissing Kevin as an individual and saying that his circumstance is somehow wholly outside of his own control at the age of 18. But now it's your responsibility, your power, your whim that is going to control the climate. I'm assuming you don't mean climate as in weather, maybe culture or the atmosphere of your classroom. I don't know.
It is a teacher's responsibility to create a space where children are encouraged to take risks.
It is. Really? I thought it was a teacher's responsibility to, I don't know, teach. I mean, true, you want to create an environment where students feel comfortable in interacting and learning and asking questions and so on and so forth. And if by taking risks you mean asking a dumb question, quote unquote, or trying something new or exploring something different, if that's what you mean, I guess I can agree with that sentiment. But, and this is me admitting my own bias here, I have listened to teacher after teacher, educator after educator, who seemingly place themselves in such a high position of responsibility and authority over students' lives to the point where parenting isn't even brought up. Parents are an afterthought at best. And teachers and educators either are or are being encouraged to center themselves as the prophets for their students' futures and lives and ways of thinking, or what to think in the worst case. Now, there obviously is some truth to that when you're talking about a specific subject or a favorite teacher, someone that encouraged you towards something that maybe your parents weren't aware of, or what. I'm not dismissing the role and importance of teachers in our lives, but there's a line. It's one of those things like, I don't know I can't define pornography, but I know it when I see it. There's a line between acting as a mentor to a student and believing yourself to be a prophet to a student's future or well-being. One of those things. And we're only a couple minutes into this, but she's giving me those vibes, is all I'm saying.
And to speak their truths and to feel safe when they do it.
You are not a therapist. You are not a psychiatrist. You're not a psychologist. You're a teacher. And as I say, a teacher can wear many, many hats in the course of their work. It's true. But you are not the end-all be-all. At best, you are a guide. You are not the leader. If you do not know your role in the relationship, if you think of yourself as more important than you are, you're going to do things that are not healthy, either for you or for the student. So I'm curious to know, and I'm wondering if our speaker will even bring up Kevin's parents.
Sometimes, however, I have too many young people who choose quiet over participation.
Well, that is their prerogative. And sure, teachers should try to elicit some kind of participation, some kind of response from their students to engage them in the material and so on. But what happens if they just don't want to? I mean, you can bring a horse to water, you can't make it drink, as they say.
Because the responses that they have traditionally gotten from their teachers are dismissive, they are corrective, and they can even be combative.
I guess it all depends on the student and or the teacher, and sometimes those things are appropriate, depending on the situation. Dismissive, maybe not. I mean, now, I have a story I could tell. I'll save it for later, maybe.
And that's because of the systemic racism.
The systemic racism. Okay, you know what? Everything prior to that statement, I could believe is taking place in schools and in education and in teachers in general, as in teachers towards students. But now, suddenly, all of those things are about racism. Okay. Circling, make something about race, sex, etc. for no reason. Because I'm sorry. You might have sold me on your perspective as a teacher in the educational system, etc. But now you've brought up race, and you still have not explained why that is a separating factor between Kevin and all of the other students who were kicking butt. Unless Kevin is the only student in your class at that time who was of a different race than all of the other students. You didn't say that. And I'm wondering why you didn't say that.
That plagues our buildings and our culture and our nation.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And it is my job, it is our job as educators to do every single thing that we can every single day to help extract that.
So you're an activist. You're a teacher activist. Okay. It's not pausing for dramatic effect, but it is gratuitous, choking back tears. So maybe a little bit of too much drama. I'm circling that one. I know I'm being a little liberal with my interpretations today, but It's my show.
How? How do we do that?
I don't know. How do you extract racism from an inherently racist system of which you are a part unknowingly? How?
How do we ensure that each child is equitably educated? How do we ensure that the prejudicial messaging and the implicit bias and the hurtful attitudes?
Implicit bias, well, that's not quite unconscious bias, but I'm going to take it regardless. Microaggression / unconscious bias, circling that one. Okay, how do we do these things? How do we cure ourselves? How do we teach children equally or equitably? What did she say? Let me back up and make sure I didn't just mishear her here.
How do we ensure that each child is equitably educated?
Equitably. Did I leave equity? I did. Equity. Equity is circled. Boy, oh boy, we got a lot going on here. We are one away from a bingo. If we get benevolent condescension, and I think we might hit it before the end of this one, we'll have a bingo. We'll find out. But okay, how do we equitably educate each child? You can't. You can't equitably educate. You can offer the same education and they'll respond one way or the other to it. They will latch on to certain concepts over others and so on. Teach them equally. Stand in front of a class full of different children and teach the same lesson. Because as I'm sure you know as a teacher, not every student learns the same way. Not every student learns at the same pace. You're going to have to engage with each student to some extent to help them along because some will grasp a concept quicker or slower than others. You know that. There is no equitable teaching every student because we're all different. Like Kevin was behaving differently compared to all the other students in that class.
How do we ensure that the prejudicial messaging and the implicit bias and the hurtful attitudes, how do we combat them? How do we negate them? Specifically, look at me. How do people who look like me, white ladies who teach, because that is what our nation is made up of, white female teachers.
Yeah. And so just completely undercut and dismiss your entire self. Well, if I hadn't already circled self-vilification, there you go. And I guess because the bingo card reads as it does, takes credit / blame for something done, experienced by others in their demographic, she just included herself in an entire swath of educators. So I'm circling that one. Yeah, I mean, I guess you are the problem. Look at you. Just look at you. You represent everything that's wrong with education. Hell, you should quit. I don't understand why you even entered the field in the first place. I mean, as soon as you had this revelation that what you are is the problem, you should have become a dump truck driver or something. Anything other than a teacher. So you're going to step down now, right? In fact, anything you say about being an educator, anything you give us as an observation of experience about being an educator, it has to be put into question, doesn't it? Because you, on the basis of what you are part of the problem. We can't trust you because of your gender and your race and your occupation. I'm going to circle speaker should not be in current occupation or position. She has invalidated her own existence in her own job just now. Thank you, The Broken Baller. What an idiot. I need a beer after this. Well, I'm having a pepper jack right now, and I'll tell you, it's not helping that much.
That's who we are right now. How do we make sure that we are delivering rigorous content in a safe environment where our kids are taking risk and finding growth and being treasured?
Wow. I don't know. How do you intend to accomplish all that? Okay. All right. I'm going to take a mental step back here for a second. I'm going to, for the sake of argument, I'm going to stipulate to her version of reality, okay? She represents the problem. All of the things she is listing are problems. All of the things she is listing are things she has observed as faults with the education system that she has been a part of. Okay, all right. So, granted, we are allowing for her version of reality to stand for a moment. Are you going to offer or propose actual, concrete solutions to the problems as you see them? I mean, I can set aside my skepticism for the sake of argument for the moment. So now, having analyzed this, you've looked at the system, you've looked within yourself, or if not within yourself, at least at your reflection and your skin tone. What solutions do you have?
Every second that they're in our rooms.
Yeah.
I don't have really easy answers to these questions.
Oh, for crying out loud. Okay. Well, you might as well wrap up the TED Talk here, right? I mean, okay. You don't have any easy answers. All right. Okay. I'm sounding like Joe Pesci in Lethal Weapon 2 or 3 or whatever. Okay. Let's back up just a couple seconds. All right. You don't have any easy answers. All right. Well, okay. Let's assume for the moment that these are endemic, deeply rooted problems in the system. They are systemic after all. All right. What are the hard and difficult answers to these problems? I mean, just give me an answer. Give me an idea. Whether it's simple or easy or difficult or complicated, whatever. Just give me something that lets me know that you've thought about it more than just feeling sorry for yourself. Thank you. This is Kyle. Oh, that's very generous of you. Thank you, Kyle. And I'm going to assume that Kyle's unsaid message is, hello, chat and scribbles. Hello, Kyle. I'm sure Kyle means to say hello to everybody, including myself. And Kyle says, fuck you, YouTube, for stealing my message. Oh, okay. Well, Kyle, if you can reword your message for safety, I will attempt to read it shortly. I'll keep an eye out, but okay. Anyway, she doesn't have simple answers. What are the complicated answers?
I don't have really easy answers to these questions.
Right.
There is no bullet-pointed listicle that I'm gonna deliver.
Ah, dang it. I was hoping to circle a list. Gall darn it to heck anyways.
And too many people are looking for that sort of like easy tool.
You know what? I'm not. The issues that I entertain, the issues that I look at on this series or any of my other videos on my channel that people come up with or state as problems, more often than not, there are no easy answers. So, for example, criminal justice system, right? Racism, sexism, inequality of one form or another, onward and onward and onward. There are never easy answers to quote unquote solving those problems, even though most of them are problems that have never been and never will be solved. But I don't believe that there is a bullet point, one by one sort of solution to all the things, all the ills of the world. So I'm not quite that naive. But then again, I don't know what kind of people our speaker talks to on a regular basis. So maybe she thinks that's how the world works. This is Kyle Scribelight. I was saying how these people only want equity not for a noble cause, but to control reality and conform it to their ideologically bent view of the world. Only want equity for... Well, you see, and that's really the trick. And this is the Dr. Doom paradox that I've talked about several times before. You say a noble cause. In this speaker's mind, I have no doubt that her intentions are sincere, that she is not a bad person in any way, shape, or form. She does not mean badly towards anyone. She has no ill will or malice of forethought or anything. But her interpretation of what is good and or benevolent, etc., is self-defeating and condescending and unproductive. So I don't doubt this lady's inherent intention to do good, that she sees what she is doing as a noble cause. You know, I just don't agree that her conclusions or her methods, as she is indicating here, are going to achieve the ends that she thinks they are, rather than just perpetuate the same kind of stereotypes and divisiveness and condescension and soft bigotry of low expectations that we've seen recurring over and over and over again. So I partially agree with you, Kyle. I don't see her as a power monger. That's the thing. I mean, so far, I mean, who knows? I can't read her mind. But I see someone who believes in original sin and that she has to cleanse herself of her inherent flaw, i.e., her gender, her race, her position, by assuming a role of a savior against everyone she sees as the villains, i.e., the system, everyone else who looks like her, and so on. That's the problem. It is a poisonous benevolence.
It doesn't exist. What I have are stories and I have experiences. I revisit them. I welcome new ones, especially those moments, those firsts that shed light on why I believe the things that I do, why I react the way that I do.
Wait, experiences that shed light on... Okay, well, okay, I am trying to understand this here. It's true. A lot of us don't know what we can do, what we do think, what our reflex reactions will be to situations until we are put to the test. A case in point for myself, I remember watching Jerry Springer for its entertainment value many times in my youth. And I'd always come away from some of the episodes going like, those people are crazy. I would never do something that, duplicitous, that disingenuous, that some kind of betrayal, etc. And then, of course, life has its way with you, and you're put into situations where you have to make a choice. And the choice you reflexively make, or the choice you make without even thinking about it, ends up being the kind of choice you previously ridiculed. And then you have to stop afterwards and say, is that really who I am instinctually? And then ask yourself, do I like that version of me? So sure, in life, we are challenged from time to time with the preconceived notions about what kind of person we are. And we find out that maybe we're not who we thought we were. And then we have to decide, are we okay with that? It's called growing up, more or less.
And so at the end of that student teaching experience, my beautiful kiddos threw me a party in the cafeteria, and it was cool. It was awesome. I felt love. I felt sincerity. There was taco dip.
But did you also feel guilty? Did you also feel it was undeserved? Because you're a white lady teacher, by any chance?
There was someone missing.
Was it Kevin?
Kevin.
Oh my God! Oh, the twists, the turns.
Kevin didn't come.
Oh no!
And I was bummed.
Oh.
But he did leave me a note. This is what it said.
Thanks for putting up with all my shit. Okay, now, setting aside all of her self-wretchedness and all the other bullshit, taking it on its face, that's kind of sweet. Kind of sweet. That Kevin would acknowledge that this lady was trying to help him out. So, okay, that's kind of nice. And you know what? It's not an anecdote. I'm going to say I disbelieve. I can believe, for the sake of the story being told, that actually happened. All right.
And so upon receiving that note, I had two immediate realizations. One, teaching is where I belong.
Oh, God. Well, I'll tell you what. I have two immediate realizations. That is a list. It might be a list of two, but it is still a list. Circling a list. Thank you, Johnny Hellcat. These nachos taste like white guilt. Okay, yeah. All right, so two realizations. One, teaching is where I belong. And the second one,
It's what I need to do. It has made me a better friend. It has made me a better partner. It's made me a better person. It has made me a better mama. And two,
yeah.
when used correctly, shit really can be poetic.
I'll agree with that. That's cute. That's funny. I'll agree with that.
So if Kevin taught me the value of relative truths, it is Ashley who taught me to recognize the why behind these truths. And
Whoa. Okay, I hope we get back to Kevin. I want to know, did he immediately send himself to prison after graduation? Did he graduate, given his attitude towards school in the first place? I hope we have a follow-up, like at the end of Animal House, where we get some kind of like summary of where are they now. I want to know what happened to Kevin. Thank you, John Miller. Belongs in teaching about as much as I belong in rocket science. I'm a business manager. Well, I've already circled speaker should not be in current occupation or position because, yeah, if that's how she sees the world and her students and her role in it, not a healthy way to go. But anyway, okay, so now we're going to ignore Kevin, I guess, and we're moving on to Ashley, whoever Ashley is. So tell us about Ashley for the second half of this presentation.
Taught me to recognize the why behind these truths. And I am so excited to talk to you about Ashley. So,
oh my God, well, I'm excited that you're excited.
Ashley comes into my classroom as a 10th grader. She's this 15-year-old bundle of absolute glory. She's everything good. She's excited. She's energized. She is willing to learn. She is thriving. She's just cool, right? We know those kids.
Okay. Ashley is, for all intents and purposes, the opposite of Kevin, insofar as school and enthusiasm is concerned. Okay. So you got Kevin, the insular, quiet, grouchy, self-defeatist student. And then you have Ashley, the outgoing, positive, excited student. Okay. I just want to make sure I got these things rooted in my mind. Thank you again, Johnny Hellcat. Anyone else notice her pout immediately vanished? Well, she's thinking about Ashley now. She's not thinking about Kevin. Kevin was the downer memory. Now Ashley is the upper memory.
I learned more from Ashley that year than she learned from me.
I don't know if that is a self-endorsement or not, but please do edify me.
2 years later.
What did she teach you? 2 years later? What did you learn? What did you learn that surpassed what you taught? If you don't back up a little bit somewhere, I'm going to circle leaves out vital context. You don't want me circling leaves out vital context, do you? I mean, you're an educator. Giving context to things is part of your job, I thought.
Ashley steps foot in my classroom. 2 steps closer to graduation, more aware, more mature, more ready to change this world. So the day that Ashley pulled up into our high school parking lot, and there was a Confederate flag waving on the back of one of her classmates' trucks.
Oh, no.
And there was a noose that was dangling from its bumper. It is no surprise that my young person, that Ashley decided to act.
Okay. Now, I forget where this talk takes place, and even if the talk takes place in one location, that doesn't necessarily mean the speaker comes from that same location. So I don't know where this took place. I'm not going to say it's something that did not happen. because that is, as much as some people might want to think otherwise, there are assholes out there that have flown Confederate flags and dangled nooses off the back of their trucks. It's true. I've got family in the South. I've seen it. So it's not completely outside the realm of possibility here. Over dramatizing it, whatever. Anyway, is a bit much, but then I've already circled pauses for dramatic effect. So, okay, what did Ashley do in response to the Confederate flag noose situation?
And so she and several of her classmates organized a protest.
Against one student, presumably, or one person who had a Confederate flag and noose hanging off their truck. You couldn't just call them an asshole and dismiss them. A protest over one person. Okay.
They wore red shirts in solidarity. They wanted to send a message to our administration that they needed to act swiftly and appropriately against this hateful message that was delivered very freely.
A hateful message delivered freely. You mean like the unfortunate reality for people who hear things they don't like? The First Amendment? Yeah. You know, it's one of those things where it's we complain about this on Lords of the Night quite often. Why do you make me defend X? Right? Whether it's Donald Trump or someone flying a Confederate flag and hanging a noose off of their truck or something. It's their truck. It's their property. You can vilify this person, certainly. You can dismiss them entirely. You can uninvite them from every party. And maybe there are school rules that say, you know, thou shalt not display certain images or iconography or whatever, and that's fine too. But please stop making me have to defend somebody who's going to fly a Confederate flag along with a noose and say First Amendment. I don't know what to tell you. And they all wore red shirts. It's a good thing they don't live in the Star Trek universe, at least the original series Star Trek universe. That would be bad. Thank you, John Miller. Sounds like fake news. Don't leave me hanging. Oh. A lot of people are saying this thing didn't happen. I don't know. I'm on the edge because I can believe that somebody did something that caused a protest. It's almost like the relative low bar of the triggering incident causing an entire protest of students. That doesn't sound outside the realm of possibility in this day and age. I mean, I don't know how many of you remember the catastrophe that was Mizzou just a few years ago, but I can believe it. I can believe that this actually happened. So I'm not going to circle that one because, like I say, it sounds in line with things that have actually happened.
The day of the protest, many of the young people who decided to be a part of this showed up to my room. Another first period, another first experience.
Oh my God, it must have been very profound. Do tell.
And as the kiddos came in...
The kiddos? I've heard that kiddo is a very dismissive and derogatory term. Somewhere. Especially if you're talking about high school students and you're only like a couple of years apart. Or maybe this was later on in her career. I don't recall, but okay.
I could hear their anger and I could hear their hurt. I could see it.
Oh, I'm sure they were really hurt by some asshole flying a Confederate flag and hanging a noose off of his truck. I'm sure they were injured in numerous ways somehow.
And I decided it was one of those moments. I decided to do my best in that moment. So I scrapped my creative lesson plan.
I totally abrogated my responsibility as a teacher.
And we went in and we just talked.
Oh my God.
And to be honest with you, I mostly listened.
Oh, did you? Was it because you represent the evil behind that flag and that rope knot?
And let these young people navigate through the hurt and the anger and the frustration.
One guy flew a Confederate flag and hung a noose off his car. Again, I'm going to assume for the sake of argument that that reality is true. That one guy doing that hurt all of those kids. All of them. And you. That is a lot of power you were giving over to that one asshole. I don't understand why you would make that decision for yourself.
At the very end, though, I weighed in and I promised that I would do my best. I will go to administration. I will stand up to them. I will make sure they do what is right.
Okay, what is right? In that situation, what is right?
And then Ashley raised her hand.
Uh-oh, then Ashley raised her hand.
And another truth was delivered.
Oh, okay. I am moving myself right now. I am literally now on the edge of my seat. What truth was delivered?
That I wasn't quite ready for.
Yeah.
She said, Mrs. Vercucci, I appreciate what you're doing.
But
I can't trust you the way that I would trust a brown person.
Oh! Oh my God! Oh my God! Ashley is a racist. You know what? Now that is a revelation. That is a truth I did not see coming. Wow. Wowie, wow, wow. Ashley is a racist. Gosh, I'm sure that your immediate reaction was to inform her of just how poisonous a perspective that is on the world and on people that she encounters in life, right? I'm sure that's what you did next. You didn't internalize that. You didn't assent to it. You didn't stand back and nod. You didn't defer to that way of thinking, did you? I mean, that would be promoting racist stereotypes and racist identitarianism. I mean, you wouldn't do that, would you? Thank you, Drew W. She white-splained. Well, she tried not to, but then she had to weigh in at the end, and boy, oh boy, was she given a dose of truth. Right? White person.
And I got it.
Look at that uncertainty on her face. I got it, but can you even imagine the kind of struggle within herself that she's experiencing right now and going through that memory? Can you even imagine the mental contradiction she must have been going through at that moment, back at that particular incident, hearing that from her student, knowing that she had no room to maneuver from her own ideology to correct or to push back against that opinion? Can you see it now in her face? The struggle with the spirit of what she has just been accused of versus what her intentions are. It's amazing. Thank you, Zach Osborne Scribe. I just looked this woman up. It says she was 20 in 2018. So she is 21 years old here. The timeline isn't adding up. She looks 30 plus. What the fuck? I don't know. I mean, she didn't give any years for any of this stuff, so I have no idea. If she was 20 in 2018, and so she was 20 or 21 at this point in the talk, given that this was supposedly given in 2018. Well, either some information is off or her experiences have just rapidly aged her. But then admittedly, I'm terrible at estimating age in some people. So like someone could be 40 and they look like they're 60. That's usually what happens. Like I'll see somebody, it's like, this person's age is 32. And I'll look at them and I'll think, that is a rough looking 32. You know, I look better than that and I'm 41. That's not narcissism. It's just a fact.
Maybe not initially.
Uh-huh.
But what I know.
Whoa. Maybe not. Whoa, let's back up. You accepted that, maybe not initially? What do you mean? Were you committing a sin of doubt?
This is for Gucci. I appreciate what you're doing, but I can't trust you the way that I would trust a brown person.
Oh my God, that is so ridiculous.
And I got it, maybe not initially.
Yeah, you got it, maybe not initially, because the instant that she said that, what did you feel? Did you feel like you were being dismissed because of your race? Do you feel like your ideas, your intentions, your entire body of professional work was being dismissed and devalued because of your race? Do you think that's what you were experiencing at that moment? You think? Maybe? How does that feel? What do you think that kind of mindset does to the world and to the people around you? Do you have an idea now? Have you experienced a truth you may not have in the past, reducing people down to their skin color? But apparently you're happy with it because you're willing to demean yourself in your own profession based on your gender and your race. Okay, just want to make sure I'm on the same page.
But what I know
Yeah.
is Ashley couldn't trust that I was going to handle it the way I needed to, because the hurt that she felt from that message of hate, I couldn't understand because my whiteness protects me from it.
Wow. That is some kind of rationalization there. That is some kind of rationalization. That is some kind of deferring to someone else's racism, internalizing it, and making yourself the bad guy for even questioning it. Wow. Wowie, wow. I'm circling plays the victim because somewhere in here, she's made herself a victim when she didn't need to be. Now, admittedly, she's not necessarily playing the victim. I don't know. Am I wrong on that? Is she playing the victim? Is she accepting her villainy? It seems like more she's accepting her villainy than she's playing the victim. Pikal, the Driving Ant-Man, thank you so much. Full card yet? Well, we're not yet. We still need benevolent condescension, which I'm actually kind of inclined to circle because she's just essentially endorsed her own students' racism on the basis that she's right because I'm inherently flawed. Does that make sense? Okay, I'm going to leave those blank for now because we still have a couple minutes left. We'll discuss it after the show. I'll take arguments one way or the other. Maybe my mind is slightly addled either from the pepper jack and or in combination with what she's been saying, but I don't want to take too many reaches here on the bingo card. The bingo card is sacred.
And so I got over the emotions. First, I was, well, I don't know if I'm over the emotions. It still resonates.
Yeah, no, you're not over the emotions. Whatever you were feeling back then, you are living right now. And confusion, resistance, and self-imposed shame seem to be on the menu today.
But that initial moment, it was it was embarrassment. She said it in front of 25 of my students.
Oh, you were embarrassed again? Because of your skin color? Golly, you probably deserved that. You deserved that, didn't you?
But what I know is that Ashley didn't say that to be injurious. She didn't say it to be malicious.
Oh, no, she didn't say it to be injurious or malicious. She was just reducing you down to your skin color out of kindness, out of politeness. She was dismissing you entirely. Anything you had to say, any trustworthiness you might have established over the course of your long career as a teacher and trying to guide these kids through life and through education. No. She wasn't doing it to be injurious. No. She was doing it to help. Thank you again, Pincala Driving Ape Man. It's not a reach when they use a baseball bat. Well, maybe I'm just being too generous.
She said it because it was how she felt, and she deserves to share how she feels in my room, in our rooms, in our schools, in our climate, in our nation.
Oh, okay. So did the guy with the Confederate flag and the noose deserve to express himself and how he felt? You know, expressing conceivably, without reading his mind, what he felt about other people on the basis of their race. Did he have that freedom as well, just as your student had to completely eliminate you from any consideration on the basis of your race? I mean, what are you talking about? Thank you, Johnny Hellcat. She used that compassion that Cannon mentioned. Yeah. Oh, boy. Oh, boy. I mean, it's not exactly words. No, I'm being really too generous with some of the bingo card stuff. I need to stop. For a second. We still have several minutes left.
She deserves to share that.
Yeah, okay. And the guy with the truck didn't, on the same basis. On the same root inspiration for making that expression, the guy in the truck didn't, but your student was totally cool in eliminating you on the basis of your race. Okay, I just want to make sure I understand where you're coming from here, because I'm trying really, really hard.
And so then I started to think about the moment through Ashley's perspective. I wondered what it must feel like to sit in classrooms for all of those years with a white person in front of her, wondering if she could trust them, wondering if they had her best interests at heart.
Gosh, it's almost like racial paranoia is a bad thing, isn't it? And the guy with the truck, the flag, and the noose is all that different because...
At the same exact time that was going on, I was in graduate school. I was getting a master's in composition and rhetoric.
Well, I'll say you need to compose yourself a bit more here. And rhetorically speaking, you're doing a bad job with your sales pitch.
I had a professor, a veteran professor, who often told us stories of his growing up in the South.
Uh-huh.
I was also studying Baldwin and Ellison. I very much believe that the humanities and literature can teach our children about the racism, the pervasive racism.
You mean like the kind that you were fostering and encouraging in your own student? That kind of pervasive racism? By stepping back and listening and allowing that kind of thinking to continue unabated? That kind of pervasive racism? Thank you, Drew W. No wonder why Ashley didn't learn much from her. Yeah, might be the case. Somebody, I missed it. Somebody asked for a bingo card recap. Okay, here's what I have circled so far on the current bingo card. Link is in the description. I have circled self-vilification wretchedness, takes credit/blame for something done by others in their demographic, equity, microaggression / unconscious bias, or in this case, implicit bias, gratuitous pausing for effect. I'm also kind of on the edge of calling that like dramatic pausing for effect or over drama something. School to prison pipeline, not said explicitly, but effectively alluded to. A list, she had a list of 2, that's a list. Free space, make something about race, sex, etc. for no reason. Kevin's race was not a factor up until she decided to make it one. It was his attitude and his behavior in class, and then suddenly his race was the reason somehow. She hasn't explained that. Speaker should not be in current occupation or position. If she's going to encourage by deference the idea of racism in her own classroom, she shouldn't be there. And systemic/institutional, she's talked about the systemic racism and systems of education that encourage racism and so on. That's what I've circled so far. There are a couple on there that I'm sitting on the fence, so to speak. We'll get to after we're all done with, so we can look at it in its fullness, but that's where I am right now.
The white privilege.
Oh, well, the first 2 seconds, white privilege. Okay, white supremacy privilege, circling that one. There you go. Okay, so for the sake of context, I'm going to back up a couple seconds since I did cut her off, apparently.
About the racism, the pervasive racism, the white privilege, the implicit bias that pervades. I needed to understand, I still do, I needed to understand the why behind what Ashley said to me. I needed to understand the why behind my reaction.
The why is because Ashley has been allowed to believe that she can be racist against white people without consequence. And you have enforced that belief by leaning back, accepting it, internalizing it. And the reason you reacted the way you did is because no one likes to be dismissed on the basis of their race. I'll say it again. No one likes to be dismissed on the basis of their race. Now, if you come to any other conclusion than that in explaining to us why you reacted the way you did, you are being disingenuous.
To her. I stand before you today, and I've had some interesting experiences with coworkers.
Interesting. That sounds like a loaded phrase in this context.
Some have appreciated what I have done. Some have not and have criticized this work.
What have you done? What is the work? Now, I can imagine what the work is. I did a video a long time ago called The Work, because that is a phrase that's used very often by people who believe they are on a mission. Okay, are you going to tell us what the point of contention was in what you are doing?
But what keeps me going back are those moments when, as an educator, we deliver information that then turns to awareness, and then that becomes acceptance, and then that turns to community and family. And when I see shifts in perspective and my room becomes a space where children can thrive, I will remain committed to this work.
Oh my God. This work of deferring to and encouraging racial divisiveness. Gosh, that must be really difficult. That must be really difficult, hating yourself for what you look like and elevating anyone else for what they look like on the basis of their skin color. Wow, that very brave, very, very brave, stunning and brave. Are you waiting for applause? Are you waiting for applause? Do you think she's going to get applause? Is she going to pull a Jeb Bush? Please clap. I think she was waiting for applause, guys. I honestly do.
So these truths, right? These truths that we are delivered are often uncomfortable, but that needs to be okay.
That needs to be okay. An uncomfortable truth of a student dismissing you entirely on the basis of your race, that needs to be okay. All right. Okay. That needs to be okay.
It's the only way that we're going to negate and combat this bias.
You're going to negate and combat this bias by accepting someone else's dismissing you on the basis of your race and for no other reason. Got it.
Explicit and implicit. It's the only way we're going to potentially eradicate the social barriers. But those racial barriers will not be eradicated
so long as people like you continue to enforce them and defer to them and accept them and encourage them. Right. That's what you're going to say next, right?
Instantly. Although I'll tell you, the tools that Kevin gave me several years ago, it's 25 years ago.
25 years ago? How old? Wait, are you sure this lady was 20 in 2018? Because she said she was 20. So she's saying she's like 45 now. Whoever, yeah, she's like 45. I don't know who said it before, but yeah, that doesn't make a whole lot of sense.
Those tools, Kevin taught me that I needed to listen.
What happened to Kevin? Did he go to jail? And you did listen. You tried to interact with this kid, and he wasn't having any of it. And all the other kids in the classroom were responding well, according to your own report. So was the problem Kevin, maybe, and not you? Or do you take every criticism you receive verbatim and internalize it as an absolute truth? Because that's what it sounds like you've been doing.
That I needed to self-reflect.
Oh, yeah, you've been self-reflecting, all right. Sort of. It's more like you've been absorbing anything that someone throws your way.
And then I needed to empathize.
Yeah, you totally weren't empathizing with all the other kids in your classroom. Kevin, man, Kevin was signaling just how much of a failure you were. One student out of all of them showed just how imperfect you were, I guess. Thank you, Zach Osborne. The bio I read accidentally had 20-year-old, should have read 20-year teacher. Believe me, I went full autist on that. No worries, no worries. I mean, I don't, it doesn't really matter to me unless it's relevant to the conversation, so to speak. I just was like, if she's 20-something years old at 2018, she's a rough-looking 20-year-old. Just saying.
And so if we continue to do that, we won't eradicate it instantly, but I'll tell you what we'll do, we'll crack it.
Really? You're going to crack racism as you encourage it in your students and defer to it in yourself? Okay. Tell me how. By being empathetic, as in basically surrendering to someone else's assessment of you on the basis of race? Oh, okay. Is that what being empathetic means? Like not pushing back against regressive ideas?
And if we crack it, it might crumble.
Really? You're going to make racism crumble by accepting into yourself the racial criticism you received from a student? Okay.
And then when it crumbles, the future Ashleys and the future Kevins will walk through our doorways into spaces and rooms with culturally literate and culturally proficient educators who deliver lessons with joy and compassion and academic challenge and rigor in ways that every person deserves so that our collective will thrive. It is the collective. We will all thrive.
The collective. And your students in the protest all wore red shirts, you say. Right. Okay. And so your students can walk into classrooms where racism is accepted as long as it is directed in the right direction. And, wait. Wait, how are you going to do all of that since you can't be trusted? I mean, you can't be trusted. You are untrustworthy. Or are you going to tell us that your student's opinion, that Ashley's opinion of you in that most important of moments was wrong? Which is it? Was she overly emotional given the circumstances? Or was she inherently wrong? Or both. I mean, I'll accept both. But you're not saying that, are you? Why aren't you saying that? And consequently, why do you still hold the position that you do if you actually believe what you are telling us?
from those lessons. I know these tools work.
Do you? Okay, well, tell us how much racism you've diminished in your life. Tell us how you within yourself have diminished the racism you are subjecting yourself to right now on this stage.
And I'll tell you how.
Okay, I am dying to know. I've been waiting 12 minutes for this.
I called Ashley several months ago and said, hey, I keep revisiting this moment between the two of us.
Where you totally eliminated me because of my race. You know, I just can't get over the fact that you eliminated my position, my words, my thoughts, my feelings, my entirety on the basis of my race. I just can't get over that. Well, God, you know, why would you? Why would anyone get over that? Thank you, Zach Osborne. She's a communist. Look at her Twitter. I know nothing about our speaker. I did not look up our speaker. I have no idea. I take what she presents us in the course of her presentation and judge that against its effectiveness or its relevance. That's it. If I learn after the fact or during the stream, that's great. But I have no idea. I just listen to what she's saying. And when she emphasized collective, got a little suspicious.
You want to talk about it?
Wait, did you ask her if she wanted to talk about it? Sorry, let me back up a little bit to make sure I understood here.
And said, hey, I keep revisiting this moment between the two of us. You want to talk about it?
Okay, yeah. You can't get over the fact that you allowed someone to diminish you, eliminate you, dismiss you because of your skin color. Again, I can agree or at least empathize with that notion. So now you're going back to your abuser and asking them if they want to talk about it. I'm dying to know what happened.
Sure. And she shows up in my classroom. Ashley is the same age today as I was the year she sat in my room in the red shirt. She's 32.
Okay. So conceivably, she has grown up since that time. And what did she have to say?
She brought her 2 beautiful children with her. She has one on the way. And we sat in our desk seats in my classroom and we talked about lots of stuff and we giggled and we cried.
Uh-huh. And then...
And when I asked Ashley if she remembered that moment between us, the day she wore her red shirt, if she remembered what I did, she said, I don't really, Mrs. Rakucci, I don't remember what you did.
Yeah. Somehow it's weighed more heavily on you since you were the subject to racism and she was just the purveyor of it, dismissing you. Probably something, I'm going to guess, that she continued operating on throughout the course of her adult life.
I just remember that I was encouraged to share my truth.
Yeah, you were encouraged to be racist without counter, without question. Yeah, okay.
So the racial barrier that may have existed between Ashley and me the day that she walked across that graduation stage
still exists today.
Is gone.
Horse hockey. Horse hockey. She just told you that that was her truth. Her truth is your skin color removed your trustworthiness. And you didn't push back. There was no development in that way of thinking from the day it happened to your reunification years later. It disappeared, says you.
She is a poet and she is a believer and she is a healer.
Yeah, you look really healed right now. You sound like a very whole and healthy person right now.
She is an advocate and she is a mama.
Yeah. And I hate to tell you this, it takes no real skill to become a mama. Being a good mama is a different subject entirely, but anyway.
And when I told her that I was going to get to talk to you guys today,
I
asked her if I could share her story.
Her story. It sounds more like your story of being vilified for your skin color, but what do I know?
She not only said, yeah, go ahead and share it, she encouraged me to honor her truth.
Honor her truth. Her truth being, I can't trust you because you're white. Or sorry, I can't trust you because you're not brown. That is her truth. That is the truth that you are elevating and reiterating and crying over. Just want to make sure I understand. Thank you, John Miller. These are clear signs of a battered wife. It is a kind of Stockholm syndrome, isn't it? Thank you, Johnny Hellcat. I bet this chick cries at Walmart commercials. 10 seconds, just 10 more seconds.
And if you ask me, that is poetic as shit. Thank you.
What a piece of work is man. In form and moving. Wait, how's it go? I'm an English major. I'm not a Shakespeare major. In form and moving. Anyway, I fucked it up. Don't mind me. I'm just an English major who's slightly drunk. Thank you, Drew W. Said Ash is a mother and a poet. Nothing about wife. I don't know. I'm not gonna estimate that one. But either way, something about apprehension. In form and moving, how like an angel. In apprehension, how like a god. Something like that. Anyway, someone in the chat is going to correct me or give me the full quote here momentarily, and I appreciate that because God knows I'd be able to do it on a regular day. Okay, that is the end of the talk, guys. Wowie, wow. I don't know that I've seen a display of self-hatred, deprecation, and a breaking down of one's own self-worth in a public forum like this in quite a while. I mean, throughout the entirety of this, is it just me, or point by point, incident by incident, quote unquote, revelation after revelation, did it sound like she was trying to convince herself against her own internal instincts, her own sense of self-preservation, that she was accepting and confessing to the demonization that she has received, both externally and more importantly, internally? This lady is an amazing subject. An amazing subject. Okay, going over the bingo card one more time. What haven't I circled? Childhood or family anecdote. She never talked about her childhood. She never talked about her family. So I can't circle that one. Patriarchy, no, and not even an allusion to that. Leaves out vital context. She never told us what happened to Kevin. Like, what did Kevin make of himself? You talked about Ashley. Did Kevin end up going to jail? I mean, you give us all of that story, but you give us no conclusion. I'm circling that one. Toxic, she never used the word. Anecdote that probably never happened. Now, again, given how self-defeatist and deprecating she was throughout that entire thing, I honestly believe that she has held on to every fact of that chain of events this entire time, and that she is reiterating them as she has tortured herself with them. So I believe that one. Attempt to coin a new buzzword, buzz phrase. I didn't hear anything novel in there. Feminism, no. Marginalization, marginalized. She never said the words. Word salad. I don't think I can say inherent contradiction is a word salad. She made sense throughout. I didn't hear a lot of gobbledygook, even if it was some ridiculous asinine kind of stuff, I didn't hear any word salad. I'll take arguments to the contrary. Wage gap, no. Benevolent condescension. She was encouraging racism and calling the actions of her students something to endorse and rebroadcast. And so if not for her student, then certainly for herself or anyone else that might disagree. I'm circling benevolent condescension. And with that, guys, we have a bingo. We have a diagonal bingo from the O down to the B. We have a bingo. Plays victim. I don't think she was playing. I mean, maybe I'm being too literal here. I don't think she was playing. I think she honestly believes that she's a terrible person. She doesn't believe she's a victim. I think she believes she's a villain. She took everything that was sent her way and internalized it and assented to it. I don't think she's playing a victim here at all. So I'm not circling that one. Cultural appropriation, never brought up the term or anything close to it. So either way, guys, we hit a bingo as far as I'm concerned. From the O down to the B on the revised bingo card, you can see the link in the description. I'll still take arguments for other squares, but we've already hit the jackpot as far as this talk was concerned. So while I get the card set up for display on the screen, if you guys have any other comments, questions, observations, arguments for other squares, and so on, put them in the chat now, and then I'll wrap this up. I've already gone a little bit more over time than I planned on, but hey, that's just the nature of the beast, as they say. So let's see here. How quickly... Ooh, I'll try this strategy. Instead of just making a whole new thing, how about I just switch out that? Oh my God, it's magic. Now wait, where is it? No, that's not it. That's not the completed card. What? Hold on. That doesn't make... That's what I did wrong. Okay, I see. Okay, that was my bad. Yeah, I have a template bingo card, and I clicked on that one and not the actual one I saved for this talk. There's a talk-specific bingo card. There we go. That works. There is the completed bingo card as I have it right now, guys. If you have other suggestions or otherwise, put them in the chat now. Looking at the chat, Zach Osborne, this is going to be the most blue-balled bingo card I've taken part in this far, Scribelight. Blue-balled? Do you circle them in blue? Or when I circle them in green, is that it? Kieverdam, but you heard horse hockey. I did hear horse hockey, but just in the nonsense she was talking, it wasn't word salad. Being contradictory or saying something that's just nonsense or whatever, I don't say it's words. It has to be like a stream of words that are just there to sort of not say anything. She said something, it was just ridiculous. Okay. Sarah Jim, she was proud of her little racist. Apparently so. Apparently so. Her truth cannot be questioned, criticized, even years after the fact. It is still relevant, and the student had not apparently changed at all. BG, Scribelight, thoughts? I feel fully justified saluting you earlier. The talk was as bad as I thought it was going to be. Well, I didn't know what to expect. I never do. I really don't. Renovescio, well, I have to agree with her. She, as all regressive leftists, are indeed terrible people. They are not liberals. Like I say, her conclusions are obviously poisonous. I don't think she's a terrible person. I know that is a weird distinction to make, you know, but when I think on the scale of terrible people between Ted Bundy and this lady, she doesn't even come across. Now you could say, well, Scribe, she's an educator. She is poisoning minds as she goes. She's actually causing more damage in the long run. Maybe on some scale, but not in a category of a terrible person. She thinks she's a terrible person. She is definitely not doing anybody any favors. Yeah, maybe I need to think about that more and how I categorize terrible people, but anyway. Kieverdam, Scribelight, is wowie wow wow the sound Dogcat Fox makes? Yes. although in a more animalistic way. And usually when dog, cat, fox is confused. So that's why I've adopted it. I empathize. I have great empathy for dog, cat, fox. So, you know, when something happens and dog, cat, fox is confused, dog, cat, fox goes wowie, wow, wow. But like a dog, cat, fox would, not as a scribe would. Let's see. Renoviccio, she was awarded Delaware Teacher of the Year 2018. Oh boy. All right. Let's see. Zach Osborne, her Twitter is all about how she's training kids to become activists and comrades. Oh. And this is what I was talking about earlier about where a lot of teachers see themselves as their role in kids' lives, training activists, teaching for social justice, and so on. Oh, it only gets worse, doesn't it? Some emulation, Scribelight, we would have gotten bingo in the same diagonal spot on the previous bingo card too. Well, hey, there you go. It was preordained. There was no way to avoid a bingo on this card. Yay. Frosted Glass, she's not terrible, she's pathetic. That might be a better way of putting it. Pinkala Driving 8-Man, okay, can we classify her as a toxic person then? You need to circle that one. You mean out of use toxic, but she is rather toxic. The subject, at least reasonably in the abstract, if not explicitly, has to be brought up in the talk. Making an assessment of someone where it's like, well, she never said feminism, but she sounds like a feminist. No, can't go there. There are certain things about the bingo card I will hold sacred. I gotta put these talks to the test. I can't just find a bingo every time just for the hell of it. I know. I'm a stickler. I've used that word too before, but it's true. It's just true. Let's see. Some emulation. She ain't heavy. She's my mother. You ridiculous lunatic says a lot about the education system of Delaware. Was the, gosh, I've done a couple of videos, at least one. Was that guy from Delaware? Oh, I forget now. There was some county council director, executive or something that I did a video on. Was he from Delaware? He might have been from Delaware. I'll have to look that up again. Let's see. Mr. United for the Children. Remember the bingo card and keep it holy. Exactly. Here on the moon base, the bingo card is sacred, and we must remember that. Guys, I've already gone over time than I wanted to. I got to get actually back to work. Well, in the next 15 minutes or so. So anyway, everyone, thank you so much for joining me for this one. This was a ride with a surprise a minute. I did not expect this one to be as exciting as it was, but holy cow, we went on a journey of our speaker's mind, and it is a fun house, wasn't it? If you'd like to hear more from me or Satsu 2 Cents or Ranting Monkey, you can find all three of us tonight on The Lords of the Night on Satsu 2 Cents' channel at 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern, where we'll talk about the news of the day, stories submitted by you, what we've been up to on the intertubes today, and then your questions and comments. Everyone, again, thank you so much for your attendance. Thank you for your participation. Thank you so much for your generosity. I really do appreciate it. I hope you are all safe and well. If you're not well, get well soon. And I will see you on the next one. Take care. Bye-bye.